Shalom, giving all honor, all praise, and all glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Arachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. As always, peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect tabernacle of David, scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. And it's getting realer than real out in the field. So you all, I'm pretty sure, are aware that because of these companies going down, there's been a lot of cuts in the workforce where a lot of people are being laid off. And, people that, they've worked, a good amount of years at these particular workplaces, these companies, these businesses. Some of them may have even had good benefits, only to find out that they're being cut off, laid off. And it's not a good feeling, I'm pretty sure, but this is the times that we're in, and it's only going to get worse. All right, and guess who's getting her wings clipped? Yeah, you guessed it right. The so-called black woman. All right, now the Most High is going to make it to where she can never boast ever again that she's this strong and independent woman. Because really all that is just, it's pride. All right, and the Most High, he can't stand a proud look. Okay? That's one of the things the Most High he cannot stand is a proud look. You read Isaiah 3 concerning our women. It says that our women are haughty. That means, when you're haughty, you're lifted up. You high-minded, conceited. The scriptures say, pride go before destruction and a haughty look before a fall. And I don't know, maybe a few women are starting to get the message, but a lot of them, they're still doubling down on that pride. So this is why, it's beautiful that this is only the beginning. All right. It's going to get more realer than real out in the field. All right. So I'm going to play some of this video here. Independent black women lost 106,000 jobs. Guess who's laughing now? It's like, when you look at the comment section, the men are they're having a field day. They're mocking, they're laughing emojis, like you see the one that's posted currently in the screen. Most educated, most unemployed. So they're having a field day with this, man, because everything is coming back full circle. Because women for the longest been boasting about how they're strong and independent. They never needed a man. They're the breadwinner. They earn the bread. So they've always used that, to pat themselves on the back. Accolades. I can get it on my own type of thing. And all that is was just pride, and you not knowing that the adversary, it was already set in the works to get you women in the workforce so that you could be taxed right along with the men. And this played a heavy role in the division of the household and why we no longer have that family unit. But now, what are you women going to do without work? And this is light, 106,000. There's going to be way more in soon to come. Pretty soon, according to prophecy, it says that there shall not be any work for Egypt. Let me grab that. We go to Isaiah 19. Because everything is going online, basically. Everything is online. Everything is automated. Everything is digital. AI is pretty much replacing the workforce. So it's going to be a lot of people in the near future without jobs. It's Isaiah 19 and 15, and it says, matter of fact, I'll start at 14. It says, the Lord have mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. Meaning, those who rule Babylon are starting with, really it's the elite, but they got their puppet, Donald Trump, who's taking orders, and he's getting advice from his advisors, and they're giving him all these suggestions that's leading to the deterioration of Babylon. And the people, they're not happy. That's why you're gonna further see unrest in the streets. In the near future, you're already seeing little protests here and there, rallies and stuff like that. People are not happy. This man ain't even been in a half a year, and he's made that change, and the change isn't for the better; it's for the worse. All right, so the world is seeing how Babylon is just circling the drain. All right, and the people are in shambles. It says, verse 15, it says, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. Okay. And pretty soon people are going to be out of work, and people are going to be idle. And when you're idle, when you got so much free time on your hands, you don't have time to be productive. That leads to wickedness. So you can expect more crime. Okay, more people getting desperate. You're also going to see these women, they're going to get desperate, which is funny. I actually had a dream this morning before I woke up. I was out with my daughter. She's about to be 6 months, and she was with me, and I was holding her in my arm while I was in a grocery store or something like that. I think I was at a store, grabbing some things, and I was getting ready to go through the cash register when this woman, she just walked up to me. She was like, "Oh, you got a beautiful daughter." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And then she had handed me something. And I noticed, it was a number, and and I'm like, are you handing me your number here? She was like, "Yeah, I think we should get together sometime." And I was like, and mind you, this is a so-called black woman, right? So I'm already on like, and I was like, well, you see, I have a 5.5. She's almost 6 months, so clearly I have a woman. Not that that mattered, but I had to tell her that. And she didn't care. She was like, "I can work with that. That's fine with me." So I'm like, wow. So it's gonna get to that point. But this is a dream, of course. But women are gonna start definitely getting desperate, man. They ain't got they have no means of survival. They're gonna be vulnerable. They're gonna need to be protected. They know that they can't be alone. It'll drive them insane. So you're not working, and you by yourself. You can't, you're not busy. So it's gonna give you more time to think about your situation. So yeah, man, that changes everything. All right, so let me get this in Ecclesiastes, because it talks about how the grinding will cease. You had Nissan; they just cut like 20,000 jobs, I think, recently, and then before that, you had UPS that cut off thousands of jobs as well. So yeah, it's finna get realer than real in the field. Ecclesiastes 12 and 1, it says, remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. You get too old. It says, and also, the times that we're heading in, because we're heading in to an evil time. That's why the scriptures say, redeeming the time because the days are evil. It says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. All right, these people on Wall Street, these economic experts, they already know what time it is, man. They see the shift. They know that blockchain currency is the wave, and paper money, fiat currency is on its way out. People finna get hit hard. A lot of people. It's a lot of lesser people with savings accounts. So they barely have any money to even work with. People barely got enough to, pay rent and all their bills. So you damn near got to partner up with someone. You can't live off of one income. That's basically bum status, So it's finna get serious out here. It says, and the strong men shall bow themselves and the grinders cease because they are few. Especially with AI evolving and taking over all these industries. This is what they were planning out for. Right? It says, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. Meaning the future is looking very dim and not bright. Okay. And that's why people have been, a lot of rich people been considering buying property outside of Babylon, getting out of the country, where it's going to be, you're going to feel the travail worldwide. It ain't going to be just here in America. America's going to feel it, pretty bad. And the Lord is not going to, give no balm to her to put on that wound. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. So yeah, you would be better off leaving, but the plagues are going to be global. The Lord said, woe unto the world and them that dwell therein. Okay. So it says, and the daughters, it's like, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and then all the daughters of music shall be brought low. And you looking at your entertainers right now, it's not looking too good. These musicians and moguls, scandal after scandal after scandal. The music quality is sucked now. So yeah, man. This is all part of the Lord, bringing down the mirth, taking away the mirth, of society, man. And now you're finna just deal with straight up miseries, going back to you people's pride, especially you women. This is why you're going through this. Second Ezra 8. And we're finna get to the video. The spirit just on, and these precepts is coming to mind. Second Ezra 8. And verse 50, and it says, for many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. All right. And, there's a forgetfulness of affliction in the day of prosperity. And in the day of prosperity, there's a forgetfulness of affliction. And when you're prospering, you're at ease. And these women have been at ease because they've been able to, work decent jobs. Not all of them. Some of them, they get these degrees and then they have to go and wash dishes somewhere, or go bartend, or go hop on the pole, or go on OnlyFans. So, it ain't, what they say it is. So anyway, let's tap into this, real brief, see what's going on.
It has begun. Did anyone see this article on Black Enterprise? So in April, the U.S. economy added 177,000 jobs, and the overall unemployment rate held steady at like 4.2%. However, the picture is drastically different for Black women. Their unemployment rate jumped from 5.1% in March to 6.1% in April, translating to 106,000 jobs lost. Oh, no. The most significant drop among...
Oh, my goodness. Hey, so when you no longer have that, you know, when you no longer have that security, you know, where you know that you can live off the income of, you know, your job that's giving you, you know, these benefits and whatnot. You know, what is your attitude now? You gonna double down on your pride? You know, you're gonna expect some man to randomly come and put on a cape for you? You know, you better learn a man-pleasing skill. You better learn a wifely trade. You know, you might want to do that. You might want to learn some wifely duty skills. You know, get you a man-pleasing trade, because it's finna get realer than real in the field. That's all I'm gonna keep saying. All right, it's finna get realer than real in the field. All right.
All demographic groups. I don't need no man. I don't need no man.
Flashback. Black women are running circles around men.
Right.
I remember that. I remember that right there. You know, because they, you know, in the workforce, some of them got corporate jobs. You know, a lot of them, they'll say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, when they really just, you know, they take photos and go on OnlyFans, and, you know, they'll exaggerate what they actually do to make money and say that they, you know, they doing it big. Yeah, women are, and it may be like when that video surfaced, the scripture do say that the Lord would create a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man, and that word compass means to go around. You know, so what she actually said, even though it was a proud, bold statement, that's actually in the Bible.
Groups. I don't need no man. I don't need no man.
Flashback. Black women are running circles around men.
Right.
And it's all...
Yeah, they run in circles. You know, they show compass a man. You know, and it seemed like for a minute, you know, and this is what gave these women a sense of pride to start boasting, you know, yelling that strong and independent, you know, crap. You know, and these women were, you know, getting off on those anthems, you know, from the TLCs and the Destiny's Childs and, you know, whatever. But the tides are turning, you know, and, you know, you see these women now, they look down upon the man who actually is working, the 9 to 5, the blue collar worker. You know, they even when you go and interview some of these young broads, you know, you ask them, who do you choose, the 9 to 5 guy or the scammer or the D boy? A lot of them was picking the scammer and the D boy. You know, they it's like the 95 dude don't even exist. But, you know, he earning his legally and honestly, right? It may not be as much, but, you know, he actually has, you know, he actually has a livelihood. you know, taking care of business and actually doing, productive work that benefits in one way or another the infrastructure. So, you know, these women show time in and time out that, as far as their mindset and the decision making was never great. It was never good. And that's why men usually made the decisions. That's why it went from when you are a child, you coming from under your household, you're under the lordship of your father. And then that would pass on to the husband once he married you off. Because these women are not capable of making rational decisions. And they all end up choosing the wrong dude. And then they end up being single mothers. All right. And the father is nowhere to be found, either dead or in jail, because you wanted the D boy, you wanted the gang member, you wanted the that's who you wanted, the scammer. You want a dude making fast money. So it's all happening, man. But let's finish this.
Also shown in research that women want to marry on their same level of financial and educational status. Yeah. So if you're a black woman making $150,000 a year with a master's degree, you tend to want to marry a black man on that same level or higher. If black women are excelling at such an accelerated rate,
yeah, because she's gonna feel like if she make more than you, a lot of the times they feel like they should hold the authority in making the decisions because they make the most money. And she'll start to, look down upon you, like you're basically the liability because you're not, you're not holding your end. You're not meeting the standard, which I never understood. Why does he have to make just as much or more than you if y'all live under the same household? Y'all both are bringing to the same bread basket. You're at the end of the day, you're putting it in the same pool of resources for the household to benefit from, not just for you. But she's only thinking about herself. It reminds me of that one movie. It was like one of the only movies that I actually liked from that Tyler Perry. It was a movie called A Family That Prays. And it really exposes the mindset of these women, when they get on a corporate level and they get these high paying jobs, and she started to, feel herself. She started to get very puffed up, and she starts to look down on her husband when he's not working a job that's making the same kind of money. The husband, he's working construction, and he got business ideas. He got ideas going through his head that can benefit the family, and of course, making business decisions, it comes with risk. You may not always succeed, but that's every business owner then experience a level of failure before they start to succeed. But she didn't, in that movie, she didn't trust in her husband's ideas. She just looked down upon him like he was just a piece of shit. He was just a subordinate to her. So she looked down upon him, and she had that mentality because she worked a high paying job, and her boss which was an Edomite, and because he was the one that granted her the opportunity and gave her the promotion, she started to desire him, and she wanted him, and they started having an affair behind the husband's back. And believe it or not, a lot of these women do that. A lot of these women, especially in the workforce, it'd be a lot of adultery going on in the workforce, which is why it's wicked to even have that kind of environment where women are working with men, especially when they're married. You see it all the time, man. Totally out of order. And these women, they'll come home and you would have never known that she's at job getting chopped down by a coworker or her boss. And she in the mirror in the morning, taking her time, doing her makeup, getting her hair done, looking real good. And she don't do that at home for you. So man, hey, it's beautiful to see what's coming down the pipe. A lot of these women, they got to get humbled. Anyway, let's watch a little more of this. I ain't gonna make this too long.
How do men keep up with that?
Now, my brothers, let's be honest. How many lies have we already debunked about the strong, independent black woman? I mean, we've been told over and over that they're leading the charge in home ownership.
This can't be right. This can't be right.
And that they're the most educated demographic in America. They shout these talking points from TV screens and social media like we don't know how to use Google or something.
So, black women are, of course, the most educated group among all groups.
Ashley just gave an anecdote, but the numbers also show black women are one of the most educated demographics in this country and one of the least paid.
All of these studies have come out saying that black women are the best leaders, that black women are the most educated, that black women are the ones who are...
Why are y'all the most fired? Right? Why are y'all... Why and you're so educated, you're so smart, but you're the least desired. You're the least married. You're the least likely to have a family. All right, a family structure. You're the most likely to have children out of wedlock. You like, they've always boasted about this, and I remember when Kevin Samuels, every time he touched on his subject, he would actually stop them in their tracks and say, "You're not the most educated, you're just the most enrolled." Meaning, you're the most enrolled into these colleges, but a lot of you don't even finish. Not all of you get your degree. And if you do get your degree, it's in a field where you're not going to get a very high salary. You're not going to get a high salary because you got a communications degree, or a psychology degree, or whatever the case may be. They're not going to get their engineering degree. So it is laughable, but they've prided themselves on that talking point for a while. All right, and since you the most educated, that makes you the most in debt. You got to pay off all that debt. And guess what Donald Trump got for you? Those of you that still got to pay back on those student loans. Yeah, the jig is up.
Most likely to make a business successful, that black women essentially are an asset.
Wait, there was an article that just came out that said that actually the most educated demographic in this country right now is black women. So let me be clear.
When the mainstream media directly lies to people so they can feel more superior, we have a problem here. I've been seeing this headline, black women are the most educated group in the U.S. It's actually Asians that have the most degree attainment. They are also the most enrolled. Asians by far have the most college degrees in this country.
But don't be fooled. This isn't some harmless victory lap or a desperate attempt to speak their fantasies into existence. No, it's far more sinister than that, I promise you. It's a calculated move, an arrogant flex, meant to thumb their nose at black men. condescending campaign designed to demoralize and emasculate black male authority. And while castrated women,
and they're the only demographic of women that do that. You never see the Asian woman do that with her men. You never see the Middle Eastern woman, the Ishmaelite woman, the Elamite women. You never see them do that to their men. You know, you don't see the Hamite woman doing that to her man. None of these other women or these other nations, they don't do that to their men, and you wonder why Jake is turning away. He's going elsewhere, because our women, they love to flex, you know, and look down upon their own men. They get off on their own men not being able to, you know, climb up in position. You know, so it's all coming back, man. This energy, okay, and the men are now laughing. You know, Yahweh Shai said, "Woe unto you that laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep." You know, for the longest, it was you women that were laughing and, you know, dancing to these anthems. Now look what's going on.
to soldier simps like Van Jones and Van Lathan wouldn't recognize an insidious, backhanded insult if it came in the form of an axe kick to the skull. Your Grace, Lord Destro has no intentions of letting this slide. We will peel back the layers of these guerrilla tactics as the truth begins to surface about the collapse of the I don't need a man ideology, about the actual chaos and desperation many of these women find themselves in. I want you to never forget the Cold War that was quietly waged against you by the bitter sisterhood, and let this also serve as a reminder to uplift and show gratitude for the smaller but far more valuable population of virtuous feminine black women, those who honor the anointed role of a man in society, the ones who vow to be his rib, not his cancer.
Hey, man. And they're far and few in between, man. You know, ultimately, this truth will guide you in that direction. You know, you got sisters that are, you know, aiming towards that direction, but a lot of these women, you can just forget it. You know, that's not going to even penetrate their psyche, you know, to learn how to be a rib, to be a support, a helpmate. All right, to be virtuous, like in Proverbs 31, that's not going to even cross their mind. All right, they're going to double down on their pride, and that's why they're going to fall where they're falling now. They're falling right now, man. Eviction rates, unemployment, homelessness, you know, Section 8 cuts. Yeah, it's finna get crazy, man. You know.
That's beautiful. Love.
Meanwhile, I want you all to take a look at this really quickly. It says a 12-foot statue of a black woman has been placed in the middle of Times Square in New York, created to represent inclusivity. So as a way of inclusivity, they have placed a...
And this is a mockery, and these standing images are showing up in various places throughout the world. So they want the world to look at you black women, in this image. So what is that saying, man? And I look at it on a spiritual level, you know, because it says in Lamentations, you know, they're gonna look upon us, and they're gonna gnash with the teeth and say, is this the city that they call the perfection of beauty? Let me see if I can find that. And you look at our woman, you know, and she's definitely the token of the ruin and fall of our nation. When you look at Eve is she's from the head tribe. You know, it tells you that in Isaiah, the first chapter, that the whole head is sick. Yeah, Lamentation 2:15, it says, all that pass by clap their hands at thee, they hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee, they hiss and gnash the teeth, they say, we have swallowed her up. Certainly this is the day that we look for, we have found, we have seen it. And you just look at our women. And some of our women, you know, they're catching on looking at they're not too fond of it. You know, some of them that thought it was a flex at first, you know, thinking that, oh, see, look, we're getting recognition, you know, we're receiving honor and this and that. You know, but really they're starting to really think deeper, and it's not portraying you in the light that you would want to be seen on a world, you know, level. Yeah, they're not too fond of it, you know, because it's a mockery. You know, this is if you want to see what a Black American woman is, just look at these statues. You know, do you see any femininity there? You know, do you see any delicateness there? Does she look like she's feminine? Does she look like she'll submit? Just look at that statue right there.
Statue in the middle of New York City. And also with that statue, they have it's a monument. Some people have considered it to be a movement. Now that's one headline. But I want you to take a moment and look at the next headline. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics April jobs report shows Black women lost 106,000 jobs in April.
Can't be. These can't be right.
Now, before you start randomly sending out cash after,
So you about to see a lot of GoFundMe's, you know, especially if it continues at this rate. If this exponentially continue to increase like that, and more of our women are affected, you know, the job force, yeah, you're gonna see more GoFundMe scams, a lot of car repossessions, you know, a lot of them Nissan Altimas, you know, they ain't gonna be able to continue to make payments on them. You know, you're gonna have women desperate. They're gonna be approaching you. They're gonna start getting desperate, and they're gonna start approaching you. You know, that dream that I had, I thought that was like, you know, it's just a dream, but there'll be significance to certain dreams that you do have. You know, a woman approaching me with a baby in my arm, that was different. You know, but yes, it's finna get like that, and that's why we've been saying, and I mean, really, the scriptures say, "Rise up, you women that are at ease." And of course, this is what I'm gonna end it on. And the Lord said, while He's doing this, He's gonna make a man more precious than fine gold of Ophir. You know. Isaiah 32:9, rise up, you women that are at ease. Hear my voice, you careless daughters. You know, with your complacency. Give ear unto my speech. Many days and years shall you be troubled, you careless women. For the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Tremble, you women that are at ease. Be troubled, you careless ones. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. Because it's happening, man, and we coming into a time of trouble. Jacob's trouble is right down the line, man. You know, so prepare yourself. And if you're not with a man in that day, hey, sucks for you. But you definitely want to be covered in that time. All right, this is the wrong time to be perpetrating like you're strong and independent and in need of nothing. All right, you don't have that divine hedge. Even the women that are still, you know, that might be doing good. You know, some of our women that's still doing good on their own, you know, making all this extra money or whatever. This is not forever. You know, this is not for the long run. All right. We're in the beginning stages of a transition Everybody finna get hurt. Really, if you're not of the elite, if you're not of the super wealthy, the rich, you're not in the billionaires club, you finna be hurt. Cause it's an open war on the middle working class. You're making 6 figures on down, it's not gonna be too good. And especially if you're on your own, if you by yourself. So yeah, man, this is a good video right here, man. You know, and there's more to come. So you might want to, you know, humble down, man. The scriptures say before honor is humility. You know, a person's pride shall bring them low, but before honor is humility. She that liveth in pleasure is dead while she lives. So it's time to humble down, or you could just double down and see where that pride gets you. So anyway, with that, let me give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Until the next lesson, Shalom.